This is Back Roads of Illinois server to farmers and ranchers in central Illinois and the Midwest. I am Cesar Delgado on KS. I are in Fort Morgan, Colorado. The fertilizer markets is getting ramped up again with the conflict, and the planting season begins in the south of us. He is joining us is Brett Lerh from Agrigold in central Illinois. We were talking about the fundamentals and demand for the beans markets and uncertainty within the world. We were talking with Tyler Staub from agmarkets.net. This is Back Roads of Illinois server to farmers and ranchers in central Illinois and the Midwest. The fertilizer market is getting ramped up again with the conflict, and the planting season begins in the south of us. He is joining us is Brett Lerh from Agrigold in central Illinois. Hey Brett, how are you doing in central Illinois?
Doing good. I'm glad to be back on your show, Caesar. Always appreciate getting the offer.
Brett, let's discuss about the corn markets and uncertainty within this world. How do we need to make a decision on this planting season?
Gotten that question a lot here the past month or so, and I think my strategy personally is let's stick to our game plan. We build out a really nice game plan that I've seen with the growers I've worked with this past fall, winter, and kind of early spring. But my biggest suggestion this year, with all the uncertainty, would just be sticking to our plan because we never know what might happen tomorrow. So I think if we just stick to the plan and not be reactive of what's going on, I think that could be our best approach for this year because inputs are high. Everything's going a little bit higher now too. So I think if we just stay with our plan, if we already booked stuff, prepaid for stuff, sticking to that plan, I think is going to be our best approach here at 26.
Do you recommend for farmers on this season as planting wise?
Yeah, I think this year for farmers with the planting conditions, I think, if we look at the whole scope of inputs, we look at prices, we look at everything, I think there could be potential where the corn market would rally and soybeans may rally too, or they might both go backwards. But I'd hate to be in a situation where we made a reactionary decision and then, it was the wrong decision. So I think if we just stick to our plan, we know our acres currently, we don't get out of a rotation that we're already currently in. I think that could really help us, not for only this year, but the next couple of years as we see these markets progress in a positive or negative way. We just don't really know right now.
What is your concern about supply of fertilizer from the Middle East coast of Hormuz for this planting season?
Yeah, I think that's a real concern, Caesar. And we look at, what's going on globally. It could definitely shake up the supply if we get our ports cut off down in the Gulf and we see less fertilizer moving up the Mississippi, or if we see even, moisture too, as far as that goes, we're really dry right now. We could use some more rain to really get that water level up on the river to move some fertilizer upstream. But I do think we could see maybe potentially, for this coming fall, reduction of supply just with the conflicts going on right now. But I do think right now, if we have, fertilizer this spring, there should be enough, I would think, to go around to get on the acre. But I think as we look forward, it could be more of a concern what the supply versus demand might look like.
Yes, it does, but uncertainty in play. What is your position on the planting intention report?
Yeah, so if we look at the whole corn acres again this next year, it potentially could go up. I do think you're going to see some states like, well, even in Illinois, in Southern Illinois, I do think as we look at this corn price with the inputs, if we don't have fall gas, there could be corn acres switch to beans. even here in the next month and a half, by the time planters get rolling heavy, we could see some acres transition to soybeans from corn in the state of Missouri as well. And we look at like Kentucky, if we look at southern Indiana, some of these really kind of fringe acre areas, I do think we could see some more acres flip back to soybeans. So I don't know necessarily if we have a good grasp of what's going to happen to the total corn acres just as of yet, just because it is premature. And especially with this conflict of fertilizer prices could really drive more soybean acres than initially we originally thought at the start of the year. So I do think this conflict is going to really make an influence on what gets flipped from corn to soybeans too, Caesar.
What is your final thoughts about this crop?
I think this year is going to be different from last year. And if we look at the conditions right now, we could get some more moisture. I don't think anybody would chase away a rainstorm right now. And hopefully it comes gentle because a lot of growers did put some gas on. And I don't want to see their strips get washed out by any means. But if we get some gentle rains, keep getting some moisture, I definitely think it would help our crop potential here in 2026. But every year is different. We'll just kind of take this one with a different approach, and hopefully it goes well again.
Good luck with everything, Brett.
Absolutely. I'm sure we'll be talking soon, Caesar. Thank you again for having me on.
Thanks, Brett, and be safe for this planting season.
We'll try our hardest. That's the number one goal is safety. So I greatly appreciate the time with
This
you.
is Brett Lerh from Agrigold on back roads of Illinois. We were talking about the fundamentals and demand for the beans markets and uncertainty within the world. We were talking with Tyler Stout from agmarkets.net. Hey, Tyler, how are you?
Doing good, Caesar. Hope things are good where you're at.
Tyler, let's talk about the planting intention report on March 31st. We were bringing it up with the storage of the old crop. What is your position on the fundamentals with these two things?
We're going to get more information on the planting intention report, obviously, when we get the report on March 31st. What I can tell you is Ag Market and JSA did our own informal survey. I shouldn't say informal; it was a formal survey but we had pretty good response rate from 14 different states. This is a survey that would have went out to both producers as well as end users, commercial entities, elevators, you name it. Our estimation comes in at 94.5 million acres, which is what 0.4 million increase over or a decrease of 4.6 million from a year ago. So, and then that's about a 500,000 bushels increase over our estimate or survey results when we did this back in December. The soybeans, 84.8 is the estimate, and that's unchanged from our survey in December, and an increase of 3.7 million. Uh, and I don't have the data in front of me. It's kind of one of those things that, everyone starts asking me about the planting intention report in the last couple of weeks of March. And the last time I thought about the planting intentions report was the last few weeks, a year ago in March. So I would have to freshen up my memory, but those surveys have already gone out, and I don't know, maybe producers have another week or two or a few days to fill them out. But regardless, there's been a lot of changes in the marketplace in the last couple days, even in regards to fertilizer availability, fuel availability, costs, all that kind of stuff. So I'm sure active changes are being made at the farm level right now, even as we speak. So I would argue that whatever that number is, it's probably more up in the air this year than we've seen in the past.
Now with the world supply and demand report from today,
They're pretty boring. There was really no changes. I mean, no changes in regards to ending stocks on U.S. corn, wheat, or soybeans. There were some changes in the global ending stocks, nothing to make note of. It was a pretty snoozer of a report. In fact, yeah, if you weren't paying attention, you wouldn't even notice that there was a WASDE report.
How is the crude oil prices for right now? Because this planting season, how do you explain to our audience about diesel's prices?
Well, I mean, the minute I give you a crude oil price, it will be outdated. That's how volatile that market has been. Yesterday was the most volatile day on a crude oil chart in history. High to low yesterday, we had a high of nearby April crude at 119.48. We had a low of 81.19. That's a $38 range in crude oil. To put that into perspective, it wasn't all that long ago. We were trading $60 crude. That was just in January. So, I mean, just massive amounts of volatility in that market and sloshed around. And some people probably made a lot of money. Some people lost a lot of money. Um, so I don't know that I can give you very great information as to what diesel prices are going to be or not combine when tractors start rolling and putting this crop in the ground. It's pretty hard to hedge it uh, at these levels, and that's kind of the comment that should be made. There's really not a lot you can do right now to manage that risk. It's out there. You can go buy crude oil, but here's the thing: diesel prices in a lot of areas are up $1 to $1.50 a gallon in the last few weeks. And this isn't to throw shade. There's been plenty of opportunities to lock in some of the cheapest diesel fuel we've seen in the last few years. And so if you waited for this to pop off, it's going to be difficult to manage as we move forward.
How is the diesel's prices for farmers to the tractor?
It's very, very variable. The diesel prices were in that $3 range, maybe a little bit lower in some cases. As we have as this has gone along, it's closer to $5. Um, so I mean, I heard in some areas like down in Tennessee, I know just a week ago, diesel fuel was 3.30 a gallon. That's road fuel. Today it's over 5. So some pretty big moves in that market.
How are things with the fundamentals on fats?
Fat cattle, there was quite a bit of concern coming into the week on the strike that did get announced. There's supposed to be a strike starting at JBS in Gridley, Colorado, starting this weekend. That's the decision they're taking. So we'll have to see what happens. A lot of people were looking for JBS to be bidding less as we came into the week. The information we got yesterday, JBS was actually higher on their bid, while some of the other major packers were considerably lower. Kind of caught a lot of people off guard. While the strike isn't good, we still have excess capacity, especially given the reduced numbers of cattle that are coming to slaughter. So fundamentals stay strong. I haven't seen any cash trade much to speak of the last day or so. So I can't tell you where the cash market's exactly at on fat cattle right at the moment. But evidently they're out there because there were a lot of people really concerned about this cattle market heading into trade yesterday, and we actually ended up. We were clearly lower, but we came off of the lows. We did not trade limit down, and we had a nice little update today. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
How is the cash cattle side in the north and in the south?
Actually, in a lot of places in the South, we're seeing cash cattle higher than in the North. That's just a function of quantities. If you think about the lack of Mexican cattle on feed, that's just there's a lot less cattle on feed in the South than there are in the North as a result. And so Uh, Packers have to push harder to try to pull cattle in down there. That means they got to pay more for what's down there, or they got to try to pull some northern fed cattle into the south in order to get them on the rail.
What is your final thoughts about the planting intention report?
My final thoughts is I'm getting betting there's going to be more uncertainty with this one this year than in years past. You've just got a lot of producers that haven't made those decisions, maybe didn't buy enough of their inputs ahead of time. Those inputs are getting more expensive, not cheaper, as we move throughout the year with all the uncertainty and everything going on in the energy markets. So I don't know that we'll have, when we get that planning intentions report, it might look a lot different than the report we get on June 30th, and that'll probably look a lot different than the final WASDE we get as far as acres and yield comes in January of 2027. So don't look for it to be the end all be all. I look for it to maybe generate as many questions as it does answers.
Thanks, Tyler.
You bet. Take care.
This is Tyler Schauf from agmarkets.net on back roads of Illinois.